Alright, you guys, so we are going to go through this warm-up. We're asked to use the quadratic formula to solve this quadratic equation. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to substitute my b everywhere I see b. And I'm going to substitute my a, which is 1. And my c value, which is 6. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and plug this expression into my calculator. And that gives me 1. So these two negatives in the front will give me a positive 5. Plus or minus, we're going to have the square root of 1. Alright. And that will get divided by 2 times 1 is just 2. And so this turns into square root of 1 is just 1. So we'll have 5 plus 1 divided by 2. And then we'll have 5 minus 1 divided by 2. And then that will give us, this here will give us a 3. That's 6 over 2, and this will give us a 2. So our solutions here are 3 and 2. Alright, so now we're just going to jump into this exploration. We are going to put this into standard form using the box method. So we're multiplying x minus 4 times x minus 1. So our first box will give us x squared. Our next one, which is x times negative 4, that's going to give us a negative 4x. And then we have x times negative 1, which will give us a negative x. And lastly, we have negative 4 times negative 1. That's going to give us a positive 4. We know that there are two terms that we can combine, and that is this negative 4x and this negative x, which gives us a negative 5x. So our expression will be x squared minus 5x plus 4 equals, don't forget, it equals to 0. So from here we can determine our a, b, and c values. Our a is the invisible 1. So our a is 1. Our b is negative 5. And our c is positive 4. So I want us to start looking for connections between these numbers, like the 1, the negative 5, and the 4, and the negative 4 and the negative 1 that comes up in our original expression. So if we take a look, if we try to match, I'm going to just give you guys the answers. You should have tried this on your own already. So if we take a look, this matches with this. This one matches with this, and this one matches with this. So let's take, for instance, let's look at the example of these two matching. I want us to notice the relationship between these numbers, 7 and 2, right? How do they connect to 9? How do they connect to this 9 here? Well, we know 7 plus 2 is equal to 9. But how does 7 and 2 connect to a 14? How does it connect to this 14? Well, 7 times 2 is equal to 14. So I want you guys to think about that for a little bit, how these numbers relate. So the two numbers in the factors add up to the middle number, and the two numbers in the factors multiply to the last number. So I'm just going to then go and give you guys a quick lesson on how we would do this if we were just giving this form and wanted to put it back into our two sets of parentheses. How do we go ahead and do that? I'm going to go through two examples with you, and then you guys will practice the rest on your own. So here we see the numbers that we want to focus on is the 3 and the 2. Alright, so those two numbers, the two numbers that we want, should add up. Okay, they should add to 3. and they should multiply to give us 2. So what two numbers are there? Let's think about factors of 2. What factors of 2 are there? When I say factors of 2, I'm asking myself which two numbers multiply to give me 2. 1 times 2. Oh, look, we can stop there because 1 plus 2, right? The numbers should add. They should add to 3. And we have 1 plus 2. Those two numbers multiply to 2, and they add up to 3. So these are the numbers that I'm going to put into my factors. X plus 1 and X plus 2. So I just use 1 and 2. And we're going to do it again for the second example. So we have 14 and 9. We have 14 and 9. So we need to ask ourselves, okay, it needs to add up to 9. The numbers need to add up to 9, and they need to multiply to 14. So I'm going to ask myself, what numbers multiply to 14? Let's see. 2 times 7, 1 times 14. All right. Yeah, and so let's say I could also do -1 times -14 because the two negatives will give me a positive 14. But I see that the pair that I want to choose is here because when I add 2 plus 7, I end up with 9. So I'm going to use 2 and 7 for my factors. My answer will be X plus 2 and X plus 7. So some major ideas I want you guys to take from this video is that they should add, we're going to multiply. We're going to do the multiply first. So they should multiply to whatever C is, and the numbers should add up to B. Another key idea is consider negative numbers. So sometimes you might have negatives. So in your examples, you might see one. There is an additional video that you guys can watch to see negative examples done out. Just go back to your Google Classroom and check out the negatives.